So are you tired of making resolutions, wanting to make changes? You start off all gung-ho and then you know what happens, right? 2 weeks into it, you're like, everything just kind of goes to pot. And you then the next 11 and a half months are like, I don't have any purpose. I don't have any gumption to continue. And you just don't have a very high opinion of yourself. And you beat yourself up because you're not hitting goals. You're not achieving what you wanted to achieve. And it's hard to start over. Today's video is going to give you some tools and some tips to kind of help you over the hump and to kind of plan those things that are actionable and that are attainable. So stay tuned. So hey there, I'm Sabrina and this is Tara, and we are with Powell Ministries, and today we want to talk about you in review.
That's right.
Yep. So Tara, what are some steps that you like to take to kind of launch off into some goals that you want to achieve, maybe make some changes in your life, that sort of thing?
Well, the first thing I want to talk about is, just looking at the way things really are. A lot of times we set goals and we, like you said, we can set those goals, but when we don't achieve them, then we feel bad about ourselves. In reality, we're going to set goals and not always achieve them, but you can continue to work on those without getting down in the dumps and just calling it quits. When you do a year in review, is what I like to call it, or you in review, you're going to look over the last year, the previous year. You're going to look over your calendar. You're going to look at those dates that you wrote down, and that might be lunch with a friend. It could be work related. It could be ways you volunteered, a date with the hubby.
So how you spent your time.
Yeah, exactly. How you spent your time. Not the way you want to spend your time. We'll get to that. But how you actually spent your time. And there is proof in the black and white. So it gives you an idea of the way you managed your time. And that gives you a really good place to start.
Yeah. So my husband always says the numbers don't lie.
That's right. Unfortunately, when you jump on the scale, you realize that really quick, don't you? Yeah, speaking
Next
of
topic.
So the first thing I want you to do is when you look back over that list and you see what you have done for the year, you're going to make a column of what I call good use of your time and waste of time. So lunch with friend, that's valuable. That's time, quality time well spent. Yes. Maybe you're having too many work-related meetings and not getting anything accomplished. That would go on the time wasted side. And you are the judge. You are the one who dictates whether this is a waste of your time or if it's time well spent. And that should line up with your goals. So if one of your goals, like one of my goals last year was to spend more time with my friends and family. So those would be things that I would praise myself for. And I think as Christians, we often shy away from giving ourselves that atta girl, that pat on the back. But I disagree. I think that we need to be able to look at the things that we're doing well and acknowledge them. Acknowledge our accomplishments. Because sometimes they're far and few between, but when we acknowledge them and we see it for what it is, give ourselves that praise, then that encourages us to keep on keeping on.
I was just about to say that,
yes.
Yeah. Took my line. No, it does give you the, okay, I made this step.
Yes.
I'm going to take another step in the right direction.
Right. That's right. And that's what this really is about. There's lots of ways out there for you to get a grip on your, on your schedule and things. But I find that doing things just a little at a time, that old saying of how do you eat an elephant? one bite at a time. So you take it in small chunks. But part of that is seeing where you've done and what you've done well.
That's great. So so you talked about goals.
Yes.
So how should that review line up with your goals? How do we assess that?
Okay. Well, after you've looked at that list, and it is what it is, right? We don't beat ourselves up over the things that we've done wrong, but we just want to be realistic about it. Because a lot of times we don't know exactly where our time is going. We all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but you blink and it's gone, and you think, what have I done with my time, right?
Exactly.
Are you with me?
Exactly. Yes.
So we want to take a hold of that. We want to take it by the reins. So when we look at that list, the good and the bad, then we look to where we're at, and it doesn't have to be the very beginning of the year, although this is a practice that I do every year. And I've been doing this for a handful of years, and it's really changed my life. It's really helped me to be in more control and to get the life that I want to live, because we only go around the sun once, right? So we want to make the most of it. And I want to live a life with purpose. And you do that by setting up yourself to succeed. So as we look at the next year or what's coming up next, set some goals. What do I want to accomplish with this amount of time? We all have the same amount of time. None of us have more time or less time, right? So we just need to make the best use of the time we have. So as I said, I set a goal to spend more time with my friends, right? Always make sure that those goals are positive.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
That's good.
You want to keep it positive, because as soon as you say, I'm not going to eat any sugar, 10 minutes later, you're digging for a Snicker bar, right?
They're right over there.
Yeah. So that negative talk towards yourself, stay here. That negative talk leads to failure. You want to keep everything very positive. So instead of saying, no more sugar, how about drink more water? See how we turn that around?
Or
positive.
Eat more healthy.
Yeah, but that's too broad.
Too broad. Okay. Eat more fruit.
Yeah, you want to keep those goals really. We're going to talk about this later in more depth, but you do want to keep things small, manageable, and clear, because you give yourself a little bit too much room where you start to look at that Snicker bar and you go, well, it has a lot of protein, right? That's healthy.
It's just one.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. And,
Leads
no
to
excuses here. When you're wanting to live a good life with purpose, who are you fooling when you make excuses, right?
Yourself.
I mean, this is up to you. So, saying that, we want to look at our year and go, what is really going to help me have joy? More joy in my life. Be the kind of mom I want to be. Be the kind of servant of God I want to be. Be the kind of friend I want to be. So simply saying, spend more time with my friends and making a point to do that. So in the next calendar year, I'm going to try to maybe once a month make sure that I have a date with a friend. And I'll even make a note on my calendar to remind myself, hey, lunch with a friend, remember that, so that it gets done.
Great. Awesome. So, truth and time management, acknowledge our accomplishments, set actionable and attainable goals, kind of.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah. How to live a life with purpose.
How to live a life with purpose. So that's kind of one and the same. And then how do you keep yourself accountable? See, that's where I crash and burn.
Okay.
Keeping myself accountable.
Okay. Well,
I justify.
That's where we get to that excuse thing. Yeah. Because, excuses can really keep you stuck. And you just have to look at them for what they are. They are facts. That is, it is what it is. If I ate the Snicker bar and I didn't want to eat the Snicker bar and I'm feeling guilty about it later, and I come up with this whole scenario of why and making all the excuses,
But my husband snapped at me.
Sure.
And
hey, been there, done that.
My
I'm
boss was
preaching to the choir.
demanding.
That's right. But the truth is, bottom line, I ate it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to change that, and this is not about a Snicker bar.
it's
Obviously,
not.
you know that this is about all the things that you want in life, whether it is to eat better or it's to spend more time with God or spend more time with your partner. We're talking about the good stuff, the stuff that makes life worthwhile.
So
Go ahead.
So in recovery, I'm big into Celebrate Recovery. We have this phrase called "If nothing changes, then nothing changes," which I thought was such a play on words, because if we don't take steps to change our hurt, habit, or hang up, then we can't expect there to be a different outcome.
That's right.
So think of the end in mind. Stephen Covey says, think of the end in mind when you are setting a goal.
Always. And see yourself reaching those goals.
Yeah.
But how I keep myself accountable is, like I said, with writing a note to myself on my calendar, because as this girl's gotten over 40, I know that's shocking, I have started to forget. And it happens more and more often. So I keep myself accountable by writing myself notes and reminders of what I want. I wanted these things. I set this out. I'm making the rules. I'm the only one that's going to make it happen. So at the beginning of the month, what do I need to remember this month? Okay, I go back and I look at my goals. What were my goals? Maybe it's right now I'm trying to complete a book that I started. I need to make sure that I've got some scheduled writing days.
Oh, good.
And yes, because when I tell myself this Saturday, if I get time, I'm going to sit down and write.
You never get time when you say that.
Yes, exactly. So instead of doing that, I schedule it. I schedule it just like I would an appointment. I schedule it just like I would, a doctor's appointment or a meeting with a client, something I would not cancel, something I would not overlook, and I make it happen. I don't always make it happen, but that keeps me winning. It keeps me winning, because you can't be hard on yourself when you trip up, and you will, but it does keep me winning. So I make sure that I'm writing that stuff in my calendar, and I usually put some quotes in there that keep me encouraged.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's real good. I had a thought,
and I stole it, didn't I?
Since I'm over 50, it went out the back door. I'm not quite sure where it went. So when you're making these goals,
yes,
back them up. Meaning,
that's a good way of putting it.
Back it up to
support it.
Yeah, and try to think of the smaller steps that snowball in. It's just like getting out of debt. So I've always been under the impression of you pay off your smaller debts first, and then you just keep snowballing it to your bigger one.
Correct.
Those are all great things. So anything else to add to that, or?
No, just the biggest point I want to make here is just don't give up. Just make sure that you keep on keeping on, that you keep your eye on the prize, that you remember the why. Why do I want to make this change? Why is this important? Keeping that why as your finish line, that is what's going to keep you in the race.
Well, stay tuned for future videos. We're going to be kind of broadening this topic and for the next series. And you can see other videos about this topic right here. We'll put them in the cards. So until then, we love you. Love.